Welcome back to the Ed Show. You know, righties have always lived in something of an alternative reality. You know, to hear them tell the story, you'd think that the Republicans were polling at all-time highs and President Obama was as unpopular as George W. Bush, okay? Now, here in the reality-based world, the president's polling in the high 50s, which is pretty good considering all the problems on the table. In the new Washington Post poll, only 20% of people identify themselves as Republican. That is the lowest number in 26 years. And Democrats, by the way, are outraising Republicans across the board. In the House, Democrats raised double what Republicans did, $7 million to $3.5 million. Same story over in the Senate. Democrats raised almost $6 million. Republicans are at $3 million when it comes to raising money in the Senate. The Democratic National Committee beat the Republican National Committee in the third quarter fundraising for the first time since 2004. Let's bring in the panel tonight. Democratic strategist Todd Webster with us, also Huffington Post's Sam Stein, and Republican strategist John Feehery. Gentlemen, before we get to the numbers, I want to talk Wall Street, Main Street. The president tomorrow is going to announce a new program, some new initiatives that's going to loosen up some money to small business. John Feehery, from what you know of it, can you get on board with this?
I don't know much about it, Ed. I do think it's interesting that he's going to Wall Street also to raise money. Getting back to the fundraising thing, I think it's very interesting. He's raising money from Wall Street, you know, and then trying to regulate them at the same time. And I wonder if how Tim Geithner knows about the fundraising. I think that I've said this so many times to you, Ed, that small business is the key to job creation. Anything you can do to help small businesses, especially getting loans to small businesses. All the people I know in the small business community, that's the thing they're most complaining about. They can't get access to credit. And if they can somehow get access to credit, I'm all for it.
Sam, if they don't do this, where are the jobs going to come from? Because obviously the numbers are not good right now. I know we're coming out of this recession and whatnot, but people are getting a little antsy. The job numbers are not where we want them to be. It's at 9.8% unemployment. I mean, the president's got to cook something up here between now and the midterm.
Yeah, that's the big concern in the White House right now. I mean, it's one thing to have the Dow over 10,000, but if unemployment's at 10%, it's not going to do you any good in 2010. So this whole second TARP initiative is designed essentially to get more money into small business and small business communities to spur job growth. There's a real concern on Democrats that any reform that you're talking about in terms of jobs stimulation isn't going to come into effect until after 2010 starts heating up. And that's where all this talk of a second stimulus package is sort of stemming from, is that there needs to be job creation. Otherwise, there's going to be real political problems for Democrats at the polls.
Todd Webster, should we be surprised that billions of dollars are going out, bonuses are going out like crazy? I mean, when you give money to Wall Street, it's like a welfare recipient. We're just glad that we gave them the money and we don't tell them what to do with it. That's exactly what we did with Wall Street. We gave them the money, didn't tell them what to do with it, and now we're afraid to tell them what to do with it, and they're back making money. I mean, this could be a real problem for the Obama administration if they do not get some regulatory reform passed, because there's a lot of people out there, like Ralph Nader earlier tonight, saying we're going right down the same road. What do you think?
Well, I think the Bush TARP bailout and the $700 billion that was passed last October before Barack Obama became president was invested. The Wall Street guys have made a ton of money off of it, and I think that the administration is now out there using the bully pulpit out on the Sunday shows, trying to shame them into doing the right thing. Some of these guys are trying to debate how many zeros to put at the end of their bonus at the end of the year, while there are 10% of the public that is still unemployed. I think that the stimulus bill that was passed earlier this year was designed so, with enough oversight and regulation so that the funding would be out, and is now only now is starting to hit job makers and small businesses that can now start producing the jobs. So I think we have that to look forward to, and that should help turn things around.
All right, gentlemen, I want to talk about the new stars in the Republican Party. They come from South Carolina, and to their credit, they have retracted the statement. But in an op-ed on Sunday in the state's largest newspaper, some Republican chairmen, Edwin Merwin and Jim Ulmer, said this. They were trying to give a compliment to United States Senator Jim DeMint, and they wrote, there is a saying that the Jews who are wealthy got that way by not watching dollars, but instead by taking care of pennies, and the dollars taking care of themselves, by not using earmarks to fund projects for South Carolina and instead using actual bills. DeMint is watching our nation's pennies and trying to preserve our country's wealth and our economy's viability to give all an opportunity to succeed. succeed. Now, they sound pretty smart when it comes to creating jobs and allocating money and everything else. But John Fury, what is happening to the Republican Party sitting at 20%, and the leader of the Republican Party has not bounced back on this, saying, you know, that's not who we are. They've allowed this to go by.
Well, first I want to say Jim DeMint had nothing to do with this, so I want to make that clear. Second of all, it's fascinating to me, Ed, that they wrote this down and it got through to the editors and got through the newspaper. I'm shocked by it. I'm absolutely shocked by the process. Someone had to say, listen, you can't write that. Don't write that. Don't be stupid.
Well, now, John, you're not blaming the media now, are you? Not blaming the print
industry? No, I'm blaming the guys who wrote it. I think it's silly. I don't know why they wrote it, and I just think the process is weird.
Well, Sam Stein, your reaction to this. No wonder they're at 20% in the toilet.
As a Jew, I mean, I didn't know if they were trying to be complimentary in such an offensive way. It was very confusing to me. Obviously, it's unfortunate. I think it's an outdated stereotype. I don't understand how it made it to print. You know, DeMint wasn't involved in the publication, but he did take a little while to repudiate it. And I just think you're right. I mean, it goes back to this whole thing where the Republican Party is, you know, it's not that they're tolerant of this, it's that they're not showing enough intolerance. And I think that sort of contributes to this.
At all. Todd Webster, you know, where's Lindsey Graham on this? Where's Michael Steele, the head of the party, on this?
I think I mean, the problem is a much bigger one, and it goes to the Republican brand right now, that they've got, you know, their spiritual leader is Rush Limbaugh. They've got the birthers and the teabaggers who are out there supporting them in August when they need their grassroots support. So the problem is much bigger. I think that the 20% in the polls is reflective of a much bigger branding problem that the Republicans have. There are not a whole lot of ideas. What they're doing in Congress by opposing the health care reform bill and siding with the insurance companies isn't winning them many favors with the public either. So it's a much bigger problem. This is one latest example.
John Fury, you got 5 seconds. We get the public option, yes or no?
No.
All right, Sam?
Yeah. We get a variation of it, Ed, and it's going to be something of an opt-out or an opt-in.
Oh, that makes me sick. And what, Todd, what do you think? We're going to get a public option?
Well, you've got 60% of the public who are supporting it, and that number has grown over the last 3 months.